top stories. St. Kitts has welcomed more than 1 million cruise passengers for the first time since the pandemic. The Labor Administration is expanding support for households struggling with utility bills. And a senior meteorologist is urging water conservation as the ongoing drought drags on. The details on these stories and more after the break.
It's something that you can't put into words. A buzz in the air. From the time you wake up, you're ready to go. The freedom, the fantasy, the fete. To know it is to live it and love it. You have to experience it. If you know, you know. Angostura White Oak Rum. New look, same vibes inside.
Welcome to the ZIZ Major Newscast. I am Jamie Morris. St. Kitts has surpassed the 1 million mark in cruise passenger arrivals for the first time since the pandemic. As of today, the destination has welcomed 1,002,282 cruise passengers, marking a significant recovery for the sector following the reopening of the global cruise industry. The milestone comes amid continued efforts to strengthen relationships with cruise lines, improve service delivery, and enhance the experience for visitors to St. Kitts. Minister of Tourism Marcia Henderson said the achievement is important not only because of the number of passengers welcomed, but because of what it represents for the destination. The Ministry of Tourism and St. Kitts Tourism Authority have been working alongside SCASPA, the Urban Development Corporation, Frigate Bay Corporation, and other public and private sector partners to support the recovery and continued growth of the cruise sector. In other news, the Labor Administration is expanding support for households struggling to keep their water and electricity services connected. Through Skelleck's Reconnect 15 promotion and the Water Services Department's Reconnection program, more flexible options are being made available to people who have fallen behind on their bills. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew says the measures are intended to help ease the pressure on families as they continue to deal with rising costs and a challenging global economic environment. Similar support was provided by the Labor Administration through the 40th anniversary of Independence Reset, which helped thousands of people reconnect their water and electricity services. Dr. Drew is encouraging those who benefit from the current programs to honor their obligations and make every effort to remain connected. He says the support is designed to provide relief to households while also protecting the long-term sustainability of the country's water and electricity services. In other news, St. Kitts and Nevis remains under a drought warning with the recent rainfall not enough to ease the dry conditions. Senior Meteorologist Officer Elmo Burke told ZIZ News that despite the recent rain, an overall rainfall deficit remains.
Conditions remain the same. We do recognize that yes, we would have gotten just some brief passing showers over the past few days or so. However, that would not have made any significant dent in terms of the deficit that we would have recorded for the year compared to the average, and that's why we remain in a drought situation. It is expected that the drought warning that was issued for St. Kitts and Nevis is going to remain in place until we receive some appreciable amount of rainfall. At the moment, that hasn't happened as yet. So yes, we are still experiencing the drought conditions here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Burke said the Federation has received only about half the amount of rainfall it would normally expect by this time of year, which is a cause for concern.
For reference, we have received just about 50% of what we normally would get. And persons may say 50% doesn't sound like much in terms of a deficit or a decrease compared to the average, but it's significant. And the important thing to note is this is the time that we expect the rains to occur, and we are not seeing it materialize as yet. Yes, we had some tropical waves that passed our area. Unfortunately for us, we had the dry Saharan dust in the area, and that suppressed the rainfall activity for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
He added the ongoing drought during what should be the wet season raises even more concern as another dry season lies ahead. Burke is therefore urging the public to practice water conservation.
One of the main concerns going forward is if we don't get an appreciable amount of rainfall. We do recognize that we're going to be soon after this wet season, which finishes in November. We're going to be proceeding into our dry period. So our dry period is when we expect dry conditions. And we're not saying no rainfall, but drier conditions. And if you're going with a major deficit, the impact can be significant, and it can be worse and harder on us in terms of the population. So it's important for the general public to start to conserve now.
On the other side of the break, St. Kitts and Nevis has joined a global youth dialogue to explore opportunities and ethical standards in artificial intelligence. And the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is continuing its efforts to build trust with the public. More news in a moment.
Season is here. Are you ready? Don't get caught in the dark. Protect your family and your home with everything you need from Horsford's Building and Nevis Centers. Stock up on generators, portable power stations, flashlights, batteries, tarps, coolers, roofing materials, and other storm essentials before the weather turns. Don't wait until the shelves are empty. Visit Horsford's Building and Nevis Centers today and prepare with confidence. Horsford's, everything you need before the storm.
Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. Home or away, any time of the day. Credit or debit, right in your pocket. The National Bank card, so many benefits. Oh yeah, the choice is yours. Just come and embrace it.
Live your life your way with purchases big or small. Mango, nuts, breadfruit and all.
You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice.
Welcome back. St. Kitts and Nevis is backing a greater role for young people in shaping how artificial intelligence is developed and governed. The Federation participated in the United Nations Artificial Intelligence Youth Conference in New York on International Youth Day, joining young people from around the world in discussions on the future of the technology. Young nationals and members of the diaspora took part in discussions on AI governance, policy making, ethics, and inclusion, as well as the social and cultural impact of emerging technologies. One of the key outcomes was the development of a youth-led declaration setting out recommendations on AI policy and governance to be taken forward within the United Nations system. St. Kitts and Nevis also used the conference to draw attention to how artificial intelligence could affect cultural identity, representation, and authenticity, as well as the preservation of cultural heritage. The Federation welcomed the declaration, saying young people must be active participants in developing the policies and principles that will govern artificial intelligence. Also in local news, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force recently took its community policing outreach to Newcastle, Nevis, where officers received a warm welcome from residents. Commissioner of Police James Sutton, members of the High Command, and other officers walked through Shaws Road and Rollins Pasture, meeting with residents. Residents shared their concerns and feedback with the officers and expressed appreciation for the police presence in their community. Some also called for the walkthroughs to become a regular activity. The police force said it welcomed the open conversation and constructive criticism it received during the exercise. According to the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, the outreach is intended to strengthen relationships between police and communities and encourage the open exchange of information and concerns. Coming up in regional news, Jamaica is calling for global financing rules to better reflect the vulnerabilities of small island developing states. And Guyana is moving to recover millions of dollars after terminating contracts for 2 major hospital projects. The details after this.
So tell us a little bit about why you like shopping here at Value Mart.
I like shopping at Value Mart because it's spacious and clean and the staff is very friendly.
Have you been a patron here at Value Mart? Have you been shopping at Value Mart long?
I've been shopping here at Value Mart since the inception.
Oh, and you continue to come back. So would you say it is smart to shop at Value Mart?
I would say so, yes, definitely. Shop smart, shop Value Mart.
Hey, shop smart, shop Value Mart.
Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now. If you need cash in a flash with now, no need to fuss, leave it to us. When you need cash in a flash, no need to fuss, leave it to us. Hear me now.
When life throws surprises your way, now's here to help. Whether it's for an urgent bill payment, home improvements, or unexpected health expenses, or even that last-minute holiday trip. With Now, you get cash in a flash, approved in just 24 hours.
Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now.
A loan product powered by National Bank.
Time now for regional news. Jamaica is calling for reforms to the global financial system to give small island developing states fairer access to affordable and concessional financing. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith made the call while presenting Jamaica's 3rd Voluntary National Review at the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development in New York. Johnson-Smith said small island states remain particularly exposed to shocks beyond their control, but those vulnerabilities are not always adequately reflected in how development support is determined. She's therefore calling for assessments that go beyond gross domestic product and take into account the wider vulnerabilities facing small island states. The minister also warned that with 2030 approaching, the world remains off track to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. She identified health, education, infrastructure, and sustainable cities as key areas where greater progress could help drive development across several other targets. Johnson-Smith said climate resilience, strong institutions, human capital, and international partnerships will also be critical to Jamaica's development beyond 2030. In other regional news, Guyana is moving to recover millions of dollars and keep two major hospital projects on track after terminating its contracts with FAMED Engineering. The contracts cover the New Amsterdam Hospital campus and Guyana Pediatric and Maternal Hospital. They were terminated on July 23rd, with the government citing persistent delays and breaches of the contracts. Attorney General Anil Nandlal said the government has since secured both construction sites and is seeking to recover funds through performance bonds worth about $17.5 million for each project. The contract dispute is now headed to international arbitration. The government confirmed neither hospital project will be abandoned and that steps are being taken to protect the public investment and move the developments forward. Ahead in international news, 7 people, including Ecuador's intelligence chief, have been killed in a military helicopter crash in Kenya, and Lebanon has extradited a former Syrian general to face war crimes charges in Syria. We'll have the details after this.
Trust in NCI, come to NCI, protect with NCI, only NCI. Always here for you, always. NCI is here for you, always. Whole life, term life for your peace. Healthcare, health plans, no worries. Home shield coverage, you're safe. Choose NCI to secure your space. Life challenges will come your way, but NCI brightens your day. Through your life's journey, we're here to stay. NCI will protect you all the way. Whole life, term life for your peace. Healthcare, health plans, no worries. Home shield coverage, you're safe. Choose NCI to secure your space. Trust in NCI, come to NCI, protect with NCI, only NCI. Always here for you, always. NCI is here for you, always.
Welcome back. In international news, 5 Americans and the head of Ecuador's intelligence agency are among 7 people killed in a helicopter crash in central Kenya. The helicopter was carrying tourists from a wildlife reserve when it crashed in Samburu County on Wednesday. Ecuador's intelligence chief, Michele Sensi Contuji, and his wife, fashion designer Stephanie Holohan, were among those on board. Telemundo executive Jose Suarez was also among the victims. The U.S. State Department says it is providing consular assistance following the deaths. The cause of the crash has not yet been determined, and Kenyan authorities have launched an investigation. In other international news, Lebanon has extradited a former Syrian general to Syria, where he faces war crimes charges linked to the country's civil war. Major General Adel Issa, who served under ousted President Bashar al-Assad, was detained in Beirut earlier this month and handed over to Syrian authorities on Wednesday. The 67-year-old former officer is accused of murder, torture leading to death, and other crimes allegedly committed during the conflict. Issa denied the charges following his arrest, according to Lebanese judicial officials. His extradition comes as Syria's new authorities pressed Lebanon to take action against former military and security officials who fled across the border after Assad was ousted in December 2024. Issa's case will now go before a referral judge in Damascus, who will decide whether he should stand trial. Up next in sports, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz is set to return to competitive tennis at the U.S. Open, and 4-time Formula One champion Max Verstappen has renewed his contract with Red Bull Racing up to 2030. Stay tuned for details.
Trust in NCI, come to NCI, protect with NCI, only NCI. Always here for you, always. NCI is here for you, always. Whole life, term life for your peace. Healthcare, health plans, no worries. Home shield coverage, you're safe. Choose NCI to secure your space. Life challenges will come your way, but NCI brightens your day. Through your life's journey, we're here to stay. NCI will protect you all the way. Whole life, term life for your peace. Healthcare, health plans, no worries. Home shield coverage, you're safe. Choose NCI to secure your space. Trust in NCI, come to NCI, protect with NCI, only NCI. Always here for you, always. NCI is here for you, always.
In sports, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz is set to make his return to competitive tennis at the U.S. Open after 4 months out with a wrist injury. The 23-year-old has not played a competitive match since April 14th when he injured his right wrist at the Barcelona Open. His return comes after a historic start to the year, with Alcaraz winning the Australian Open in January to become the youngest man to complete a career Grand Slam. Alcaraz confirmed his U.S. Open return in a joint Instagram post with football influencer Fabrizio Romano. The 7-time major champion could also feature in the mixed doubles competition the week before the U.S. Open, with 3 wildcards still available. In other sporting news, 4-time Formula One world champion Max Verstappen has signed a new contract at Red Bull until the end of 2030. The move ends speculation about the Dutchman's future at the end of this season, after he had been linked with potential moves to Mercedes or McLaren. Verstappen was previously contracted to the end of 2028, but there were clauses in his contract that allowed him to leave at the end of the current Formula One season if he opted to. When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines.
Yeah, man. Another day in the books. Well, hello there. Ooh, she pretty from head to toe, and are you ready to go? Wait there. Whew. Can't afford to slip up. Not even in my dreams.
Here's a recap of the top stories. St. Kitts has welcomed more than 1 million cruise passengers for the first time since the pandemic. The Labor Administration is expanding support for households struggling with utility bills. And a senior meteorologist is urging water conservation as the ongoing drought drags on. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Major Newscast. Thank you for joining us. I am Jamie Morris.